I think Denver should feel very good at halftime, considering how they play. They're going to put them in the lead here.
25-yard attempt by Carlos. Last year had a super year, 21 of 25. This will be a little chip shot. Chris Norman, punter, puts it down, and Denver moves out in front. They lead 17-14. Once again, a turnover has provided the points for Denver. And Danny Reed's not at all pleased. But he should be.
Yeah, he's got to be pretty well pleased.
He doesn't smile a lot, does he?
Well, he used to. I'm going to talk to him about this coaching. He used to be a lot of fun and smile and giggle and a lot of stuff. I don't know what's happened to him. I'm going to have to talk to him.
And so many great years with Dallas. Coming up as a quarterback from South Carolina, became a running back later, was a player coach under Tom Landry.
He's a terrific story, Frank. You know, free agent, and we used to tease him so much. But he really is a bright guy. But he really was a student of the game. And if you've ever heard of a guy who says, hey, I play because I really learned what I was supposed to do and what everybody else did, that's how Danny played so well and so effectively for as long as he did. I think I really could outrun him. I tell him that all the time. I really do. I think I'd outrun Reed.
Carlos counted noses. He's got 10 folks out there with him. Ernest Byer and Preston Brown have dropped for the Cleveland Browns. 4 seconds on the clock. Once again, we'll be going to New York. Jim Lampley is there. The highlights of today's action. Good football game. They're playing this thing, even though at times a little bit sloppily, with a tremendous amount of intensity. See, fights breaking out. There's some tremendous hitting.
All right, big fella, go.
That's Rulon. Or Bill Contz.
Bill Contz got it.
Bill Contz, and that will expire the time. Denver on top, 17-14. We'll be coming back for second half action, but as soon as we come back to you, we'll be in New York with Jim Lampley. The ideas that help people. The Ohio University band leaving the field. And let's take a look at the action in the first half. As I mentioned earlier, it was very intense in the early going. Cleveland got off to a 14-0 lead. Let's take a look at the way it began. And that, of course, is Mike Pruitt banging in behind big Johnny Davis. And they duplicated that a little later on. Here's Mike Pruitt. He provides the inside running. And let's take a look at the second score to make it 14-0. And they did it with a lot of precision. They mixed up the pass. Again, it was Johnny Davis in front. And big Mike Pruitt banging in. Then all of a sudden, Denver got collected. They got the ball back on a couple of turnovers. And this is out of the shotgun a little later on. Denver, at this point, down 14-0. Elway, under a lot of pressure, Cleveland blitzing, hung it up in the air. And Clint Sampson moved back in right in front of Lawrence Johnson. And it was touchdown Denver. And they had shortened it to 7. There's Clint Sampson, who is in his second year out of San Diego State. And now watch Butch Johnson. Now he'll look inside, and that will pull Lawrence Johnson with him for just a fraction and a beat. Breaks it to the outside. A good catch. Great concentration. And Butch tried to give us a little bit of his California quake, and he drew a 5-yard penalty for doing so under the new rule.
That's the Michael Jackson shake he's got going there, I believe.
And Butch Johnson with a fine first half for Denver. John Elway got his stats straightened out somewhat. Started off rather weakly at one point. Was having a very difficult time, but he came through with 10 of 21, 122 yards, a couple of touchdowns, and that one interception. John Elway, who had a tremendous career out of Stanford, came in, drafted by Baltimore, didn't want to play for Baltimore, traded to Denver, and opened up last season. And Paul McDonald, of course, stepping into a pressure spot, a spot he wanted for so long, and as a matter of fact was awarded to him in 1982. And he lost that once again to Brian Sipe, but Brian Sipe is gone. It's all Paul McDonald right now for the Cleveland Browns, who are 0-2 at the beginning of the year. Denver is 1-1. Let's take a look at the quarters stats as they took place in the first quarter, and then we'll translate them over into the first half. Cleveland with a dominant edge in possession, and they still had it at the half, but nevertheless, they are down 17-14 as Elway got things happening. They begin to pick up the blitzing linebackers. Cleveland actually laying off the blitz somewhat. Steve Cox bangs it for the Cleveland Browns. Zach Thomas was hesitant, but he decided to bring it out. And he made a good decision as he's out just over the 30-yard line. 32-yard return. So Denver will have first possession here in the second half, and they did get things pulled together, Don. They were picking up the blitz, and even though Cleveland was laying off the blitz somewhat, he was getting time to throw the ball, and he was a little more confident. He wasn't moving around back there, but the shuffling feet like he was in the early going.
Yeah, a little bit. Of course, Cleveland had 2 turnovers in that second quarter, too. The fumble cost them right there at the last, but let's see what they go. A little bit more composure. We're looking for composure, John.
Sammy Winder, the setback, as he has been throughout the first half for the Denver Broncos. He'll try the right side, and he runs into a lot of trouble, mainly Bob Golick, the nose tackle for the Cleveland Browns, was there. Reggie Camp was in there to help out, and Winder is stopped right at the line of scrimmage. Cleveland, in 35 years, has only got off to an opening season where they've lost their first 2. They did come back, however, in 67 and 1980 to get into the playoffs. In the last 5 years, 37 teams have opened with 0-2 seasons. Only one has come back to win a division, so it gets a little sticky when you drop those first 2. Elway, second down and 10. Looks downfield, but has to check off to Winder, and Winder steps out of bounds, short yardage. He'll pick up maybe a couple of yards, give him about a yard. Frank Minifield, the rookie from Louisville, defensively there for the Cleveland Browns. Winder was the leading rusher for the Broncos a year ago. They've lost a lot of people. I mentioned Randy Gradishar, one of the great players ever to play this game, and you can't make the Hall of Fame in 10 years the way Randy played. No one can make it. So Rick Upchurch had to retire because of a neck problem. A lot of youngsters on this Denver team. Danny Reeves molding it really to his own making.
It's really
as well as you can do today.
Yeah, Elway's 24 and there's 18 kids younger than he is.
Third down and 9. Elway. And was going to run with it, realized he couldn't pick up the first down, and he tried to squeeze it in to Dave Logan. It's incomplete, and Denver, on their first possession, will have to punt away.
Well, that kind of looked like their first possession of the first quarter, too. They just didn't seem like they were running very smoothly for some reason. They're not in sync.
Dave Logan, of course, for 8 years, played right here at Cleveland Stadium. 8 great years.
He's happy to be back, though. Went to university, went to Colorado.
Great athlete.
Yeah, hometown boy there. He's happy to be back with Denver.
You got a quick look at Brian Brennan, the rookie from Boston College, who has dropped for the Cleveland Browns. Chris Norman now, the rookie out of South Carolina, to punt. And boy, he puts one up there a mile.
He beat out a pretty good cutter, and Luke Prestridge to... Look at that. Nice coverage by the Denver team.
When you put it up that high, even though the return man doesn't fair catch the ball, chances are they're not going to return it very far, and Brennan did not. It'll be first down at the 25 for Cleveland.
I think I found some candles.
Well, Don Meredith, happy you come out to see us tonight. I happen to be in Cleveland, but I'd stop by and say hello. Right, Frank?
Good football game. Over my shoulder, that's Drew LaRosa. He once
Drew
played
right
for
there.
Sam Rutigliano at Greenwich High School.
Is that Drew? There we go, Drew. Don't say that, Drew.
Good game.
Yeah, for a speaking part, Drew gets a lot more money.
First down and 10. The Browns at their own 26-yard line. Mike Pruitt, the single setback for the Browns. McDonald. Nice. Dorial Harris. And a good move by Dorial Harris. He drove Mike Harden, the defensive cornerback, straight back until Harden had to turn upfield on the sprint, and then he broke it to the sidelines. Good move. 20-yard pickup. First down, Cleveland. We're going to pause 5 seconds and allow our stations all along the way to identify themselves.
KUSA TV, a station of the Gannett Broadcasting Group.
Cleveland Browns playing the Denver Broncos. Cleveland got off to a 14-0 lead, but they have watched the Broncos come back at the end of the half. The Broncos getting 3 with seconds remaining. Broncos leading 17-14. Paul McDonald tries to get it to Harry Holt. It's incomplete. It'll bring up second down and 10.
It's 2 times in a row that Rulon Jones has hammered Paul McDonald rather handily there. One was complete, one incomplete.
Rulon is the pass rush right now for Denver. If they don't come with the blitz.
Yeah, that's what's really hurt them, hasn't it? They haven't been able to do it with those front guys.
They almost have to do it. McDonald now 11 of 19, 131 yards, a couple of interceptions for the 5th-year man out of USC. Oh, and that was almost bye-bye.
Oh, and it was almost bye-bye either way because Dennis Smith was the guy that almost intercepted.
That's what I meant.
But
he
had
stepped
he
right in front of Harry Holt, and he could have gone to the end zone.
But had he not been there, Frank, he took a gamble. Harry Holt was right there in front of him. These guys don't run very well, do they? Look at that.
Hey, they got themselves into a buzzsaw against Seattle. Seattle wiped them out early.
52, 82.
33 to nothing.
Look at the average, though. That's what kills you. If you can't average over 3-4 yards, boy, it puts a lot of pressure on the passing game.
And, of course, Denver just tried to get out of Chicago last week alive. 3rd down and 10. Ozzie Newsome in motion. They're looking for any way in the world to get him free, and he still has not caught a pass, and that one is deflected by Tom Jackson, and once again McDonald goes down. That time is Barney Chavis.
It's good.
4th down.
Good linebacker play there. Good position. They've got to get that ball to Newsome. He hasn't caught a ball tonight, has he?
No, and he's got a string of, I think it's 86 games or 68 games he has going that he's caught at least one pass. That's Zach Thomas dropping for Denver. And Steve Cox put the foot to it. High kick, doesn't turn over. It'll be short. Thomas at the 23 felt he had to go with the fair catch. He does so, and Denver will have the ball back. Their second possession here in the second half. Denver still leading 17-14.
You're not just another.
We've touched on some of the problems Danny Reeves has had with turnovers, young players, and all of that. And we asked him what was the most concerned he was with what area.
Well, we're an extremely young football team, both offensive and defensive. We got, I think, 27 players, 3 years or less in the league. And anytime you have that type of youth on your football team, certainly you have a chance to make a lot of mental mistakes. That's probably the area that's my most concern, is that we do a poor job of preparing our football team, that they're going to make the mental mistakes that can cause you to get beat. And it seems to magnify itself with a young football team.
And one of the youngest, Elway, on 1st and 10, gets it out to Sammy Winder, and Winder finds an opening, and he gets the first down out over the 35-yard line to the 36.
That was a good quick read by Elway that time, because he did, I would assume, read that defense rather quickly, and so Winder out on the outside, and they didn't have linebacker coverage out there to support, so he got the ball to him quickly, and he was able to pick up the first down.
Winder's having quite a night. I mentioned earlier he had a little bit of an injury problem a year ago, and he missed 3 games, but nevertheless he was a leading rusher for Denver with over 750 yards. Good receiver, too. He knows what to do with it when he comes down with it. 1st down and 10, 36-yard line now of Denver. Winder once again, left side. Lag. And Winder out over the 40-yard line. Hit there by Clay Matthews and Al Gross. There's the flag. Holding, and that game will be negated.
That's just got to hurt you. You know, so bad. You
That's
get
just
something.
what Danny was talking about, though.
That's right.
They've seen so many flags tonight.
Yeah. And the inexperience, too, Frank. You know, I always talk about trying to put a game plan in, and he has said, too, that what he made one of the things he made a mistake with last year is he tried to get too much in the offense for Elway to learn. So he's tried to simplify it a little bit, but it's awfully hard to have a, full-fledged offense if you don't have all your tricks in there.
Well, he can use a trick now. Down remains the same.
If you got one trick, you got no tricks. You got 2 tricks, you got 2 tricks.
I'd like to have told you who was holding, but we did not get the word.
Denver's interior line.
But it is 1st down and 20. Elway trying to time one out down the sidelines to Watson. He comes down with the ball, but he's out of bounds.
That's a nice catch. You know, it's unbelievable some of the catches they make that don't count. But that was a heck of a catch. A lot of concentration. Watson's been their #1 receiver, too, and he hasn't really been that prominent tonight.
He came up as a free agent in '79, and I'll tell you, in '81, he had 60 receptions. Some of them were amazing, just like this.
It looks like he's being pushed out there, but the concentration that a receiver has to have, Frank, it's unbelievable. That's what you have to concentrate on, isn't it?
And Hanford Dixon did a good job. He made sure that Watson would have to come down with that ball out of bounds. He just pressured him right up against the sidelines. Good defensive play.
Yeah. Steve's their offensive captain, so he's kind of the team leader there in the offense.
2nd down and 20. Logan is split to the right. Elway trying to get it to Logan. And good defensive play by Minifield, who played it just like Hanford Dixon did a moment ago and made sure that Logan was right up against that sideline, thinking more about staying in bounds than he was coming down with the football. Now Elway's got himself in an enviable position of looking over 3rd and 20 as special units come on for the Cleveland Browns.